Mr. Chairman, learned speakers, intellectual audience. Although we are not intellectuals, I think at least you are intellectuals. When I came to this hall and consider this subject, this Buddha consciousness, actually I was unconscious. Because I had no idea whatsoever, and I had never discussed about this subject, the Buddha consciousness. That is why I told the chairman that I want to be the last speaker. So I am very fortunate enough to listen to the first two learned speakers. Now I am fully conscious. So I know what to talk now. So, and I also really enjoyed the Sanskrit recitals of our Swamiji, because it is a very difficult task for a foreigner to recite Sanskrit words, because I know the difficulties. I really appreciate, and even without any notes, the Buddha consciousness. Just now you heard the nature of Krishna consciousness and the Christ consciousness. To discuss this subject, we had to learn the meaning of these two words. What is Buddha? And what is consciousness? Not knowing the real meaning of these two words, we cannot understand what we talk. Who is the Buddha? One day, when the Buddha was going somewhere, he met an elderly gentleman, the follower of another religion. At that time in India, there were more than 62 religious cults and creeds. And having seen this personality, he could not understand whether this person is a real human being or any other kind of supernatural living being. He approached the Buddha and asked, "May I know whether you are one of the gods?" The Buddha said, "No, I am not a god." Then he asked whether you are one of those supernatural living beings. He said, "I am very natural." Then he asked whether you are an ordinary human being. He said, "No, I am not an ordinary human being." Then who are you? Then the Buddha gave the answer. Ramaji recited so many Sanskrit stanzas, so I am going to recite Pali stanzas. He said, "Abhinyayang abhinyatang bhavetabbang cha bhavitang pahatabbang pahinang me tasma buddhosmi brahmana." The person who asked this question was a Brahman. He said, "Abhinyayang abhinyatang." If there is anything in this world for me to understand, I understood everything. Pahatabbang pahinang me. If there is anything for me to eradicate all the evil, wicked, cruel, harmful, dangerous thing, I have eradicated. Bhavetabbang cha bhavitam. I have practiced all the great qualities and virtues and knowledge and understanding. Tasma buddhosmi brahmana. Brahmana, therefore I am the Buddha. And this is the nature of the Buddha. And this can clarify so many misinterpretations that people give to introduce the Buddha as an incarnation of God, or messenger of God, or a prophet, or a son of God. No, here the Buddha says no. He is not belong to any of this group. He is the Buddha, and these are the qualities of a Buddha. Now, let us come to the other word. Consciousness. Consciousness means vijnana or vijnana. When we analyze our mind, there are 4 mental faculties. In fact, even modern psychologists not yet realized what this human mind is. They admit it. One writer from Lancaster University written in his book, he said, we glorify about our modern scientific discoveries, but when we compare our knowledge about psychology or the human mind with Indian teachers who have discovered and realized the nature of human mind, still we are in infancy stage. They have not realized the real nature of human mind. These are the 4 kind of mental faculties. Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. But we use only one word, mind. And with apologies, I have to say, English language is a very poor language. Because in that language we cannot find enough words to define, to explain the nature of the mind. In Sanskrit and Pali, in Pali language there are 108 words to explain the different states of the mind. But how many words are there in English language? That is why they create a lot of misinterpretation when they are going to define the nature of the mind. Vedana is our sensation of feeling. Body cannot experience feeling. Mind experience pain and pleasure and neutral feeling. That is one of the mental faculties. The second stage of the mind is sanya. Sanya means recognition, identification. We recognize this is so and so. This is boy, this is girl, this is mic, this is paper. This is another mental faculty. Then the third one is the most difficult thing that modern psychologists have no knowledge whatsoever. That is called sankhara. There are so many English words to interpret this. They say mental concomitant, mental tendencies, mental activities, mental habits, and wholesome and unwholesome mental attitudes. Still, it is not clear what it is. This is the nature of sankhara. The mental attitude that we continue as mental process, life after life, the relinking consciousness remains there. That is how we maintain certain habits and qualities and good and bad attitude, what we have developed during our previous birth. When existence takes place, certain ingredients that existed in the departed person's consciousness again can be seen. Take for instance 5 children in one family from the same father, same mother, every day take same milk and same food. But you can see entirely different 5 characters. One is cunning, the other one is very honest. One is cruel, the other one is very kind. One is generous, the other one is very stingy. One is very intelligent, the other one is stupid. And who is responsible for all these things? I am sorry to say I cannot believe that God created all this discrimination. It may be, but I cannot accept. And we also cannot accept that parents have given all these things. Scientists try to analyze, talking about genes and protein molecules and this and that, then how can ugly parent produce beautiful children? Beautiful parent produce small children like monkeys. Then how can these genes can produce the same type? My dear friend, this is the secret. All these things what we have developed during our previous birth never disappear from the mind in that consciousness. When it is departed, whatever word you use as soul or spirit or anything, it is mental energy, one of the mental faculties. This is the third. The fourth one is vijnana, consciousness. What is this consciousness? We have very loose interpretation about this word, not knowing what it is. Consciousness is the mental faculty that which maintain mental energy supported by the previous three mental faculties just now I mentioned. Sensations of feeling, identifications, and mental tendencies or the mental habits that we develop contribute these three faculties, plus five senses which we grasp through the senses, the objects which we bring into our mind, and again imagination that we create in our mind, supported by six mental faculties, senses, all together. When all these things join together as a dynamic mental force, that mental faculty is called consciousness, vijnana. Because of this definition, Buddhism was introduced as Vijnanavada, the religion that which deals with vijnana, the consciousness, because emphasized, highlighted the nature of the consciousness. So now we have to join the Buddha and this consciousness together. Then you can understand what is the Buddha consciousness. In Buddha consciousness, I am sorry to say, my dear friend, there is no divine consciousness. We can use that word, no harm at all. Because these words are in our vocabulary for us to use, to express our views, our ideas. There is no divine consciousness. And there is no external agency or light that which come from outside. There is nothing for us to take from outside. It is inner development. It is due to our ignorance we cannot understand the nature of our mind. Mind is subconscious, mind is submerged. We can see, we can use only this much in our mind. The rest all submerged. The storehouse of consciousness, that which Mahayana Buddhism highlighted, explained, point out, the nature of human mind. All our memories that we have accumulated, maintained, whatever we have learned, our habits, our attitude, our character, all these things are there, never disappear, but submerged. In the Buddha's teaching it is mentioned, Pabhassaramidang bhikkhave chittang tanchako agantukehi upakkilesehi upakkilittam. Now this is very important teaching. He says, when conception takes place in the mother's womb, when the departed consciousness transmits, that transmitted consciousness absorbs into the existing cosmic energies and the elements, basic elements of the energy. All these are energies. When you analyze elements or matters, you cannot find matters, they are only energies. Energies, what is energy? And what is matter? Albert Einstein, I think you can remember the answer given by Albert Einstein. When somebody asks, what is matter? What is mind? Then he says, no matter. Then what is matter? Never mind. Direct answer. Because in matter, you can find mind. In mind, you can find matter. So, when we analyze all these things, actually we can understand, we create our own imagination. We do not know the real nature of our own mind. We know so many other things. A well-known French scholar has written a beautiful book. I have read only the review of this book because I cannot read French. The title is Learned Ignorance. Very interesting book. He says, actually what are we doing in this world? We say we are learned people. We learn everything that which exists under the sun and the moon. We think we are learned. What we have done, we have enlarged our ignorance. That's all. Before we started to learn, our ignorance was only this much. But after learning, we have enlarged, now glorified, we are very proud, we are scholars, we are learned, and we can challenge, we can talk. Is it not ignorance? Before that, we were very humble, very obliging, very understanding. So what he says, there is nothing for us to learn from outside. Everything is here. If we know how to introspect, focus into that submerged mind, we can find out everything here in that mind. Let us refer to the Buddha. Imasmincha vyamatte kalebare lokancha loka nirodhancha loka samudayancha panyape. If you want to know the nature of world, he said, not necessary for you to go anywhere. You must understand, the whole world is here. Whole universe is here. All the elements and energies and ingredients are here. It is due to your ignorance you want to go here and there in searching the nature of the world. Try to analyze all the existing elements and energies and the mind, mental faculties. Then you can understand what this world is. That is why Buddhist scholars mention world is nothing but Vijñapti Matra. Is a Sanskrit word. Vijñapti means this concept, consciousness. Matra, only. World is nothing but concept. There is no world. Similar to the Hindu belief or saying, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Jagat, world. Mithya, Maya, nothing. But Brahma Satyam, Brahma is true. To truth is there, but in this world there is no truth, no reality. All these existing things are nothing but illusions, maya. Here the Buddhism says, world is nothing but concept. How we accept, how we analyze, how we understand, how we give different names. Now to understand, to recognize, we give names for certain fish, but fish do not know their names. We give names to those birds, they do not know their names. And we introduce so many things and rocks and jungles and trees and waters and by giving names. All these are our concepts. That's what Albert Einstein again says. Scientific discovery and here Indian philosophy come into merge again. Albert Einstein says, when we analyze this whole world, matters and energies and all these existing things, in the end we can see only vibrations or waves. No world, no living beings, no matters, no elements. Complete agreement. So, what is the nature of the Buddha's mind? Under this Buddha consciousness, we have to analyze it. What is this enlightenment? People always ask this question, how did he gain this enlightenment without any divine inspiration? It is impossible for us to believe that he get anything, any development in his mind without divine inspiration. That's what the Buddha says. Pabhassaramidang bhikkhave chittang. When we were born in the mother's womb, our mental energy or consciousness is prabhasara, luminous and pure. That mental energy which settled down in the mother's womb as nucleus of life is pure and bright. Tanchako agantukehi upakkilesehi upakkilithang. But later, after the development of these mental faculties and the senses, 5 senses, external objects completely pollute the purity of the mind. Then we develop. Now let us take a small baby. Everybody love. Even animals also love babies. Because this baby is very innocent. No jealousy, no grudge, no hatred, no anger. Although baby cries, it's not due to anger. It is not anger. All the evil forces are in infancy stage, not yet developed. Therefore everybody loves this baby. But when this child grows, having seen and having heard, by using all the 5 senses, learn all the dirty, wicked, cruel, cunning things, pollute the purity of the mind. Learn all the monkey tricks, naturally. That is what the Buddha says. Later we pollute. Same thing has happened to religion. When religion was introduced by the founders of all these religions, those religions were very, very, very pure. Then what are we doing with these religions today? Actually, we have completely polluted purity of religion for our own benefit. We glorify, we misuse, we abuse, we misinterpret for our own benefit, divided into thousands of groups, and fighting, quarreling, attacking, harboring, jealousy, anger, then where is religion? Then what is the purpose of religion? This is the way how we have polluted the purpose and the purity of religion. And same thing has happened to the mind which was originated at the beginning. Very few people try to purify. Many others, majority here in this world, adding more and more rubbish into the mind and pollute. So when we meditate, some people say meditation is utter wastage, stupid, no meaning at all. Why do we want to waste our time for meditation? Why can't we go and do some service to others instead of sitting down there doing nothing? Well, they cannot understand what they are trying to do. By realizing their minds are not pure, knowing lot of ignorance and rubbish are there, they try to cleanse that mind. At that time, they try to rejuvenate, to develop, cultivate, take out the rubbish from the mind. A monk who had been meditating could not gain anything, he got fed up. He wanted to go back. Then the Buddha came to know. Then he knew, because he got that wisdom to understand, to analyze or to diagnose, in the medical language, to diagnose what is wrong with this person's mentality, mind, where the mistake is. Then directly he injects into that particular point. That is sudden enlightenment people gain, but others cannot do that. Even Arahantas or saints also cannot do that. So, then the Buddha says, is it true that you want to go home? Yes, I could not gain anything. All right, sit down. He asked to bring a white piece of cloth. Now you go on rubbing this, reciting this, Rajo Haranang, Rajo Haranang, Rajo Haranang, Rajo Haranang, Rajo Haranang. You can regard this as mantra, no harm. Rubbing and rubbing and rubbing and rubbing, watching. Then he realized, when he started to rub this piece of cloth was very, very pure. Now a lot of dirt's there. Rubbing and rubbing and rubbing, it has become dirty. Realizations appear. When we use our mind through our five senses, this is the way how we dirty our mind. So if there is anybody in this world who can cleanse this mind, I am the only one. Another person cannot do that. A God cannot cleanse my mind. But belief in God we can use as a vehicle to do that. That is what the Buddha says. Tunnehi kiccang atappang akkhataro tathagata. Tathagata. The Buddhas can tell you what to do. But the Buddha cannot cleanse your mind. Another person cannot cleanse your mind. Take for instance, if you are cruel, if you are hot-tempered, you can go and pray 100 times a day, asking God to take out your anger or cruelty. Do you think God can take away? Unless you make up your mind to withdraw that. But you can use the name of God to pray. Then realization, you take this, the God, concept of God as an object. So you have to use your own effort. Without using your effort, whether you pray or not, whether you worship or not, whether you perform religious rites and rituals or not, no difference at all. Your effort is the important thing. Your understanding is the important thing. Your religious labels cannot do anything for you. You can forget about religious labels. Then the development of enlightenment in the Buddha's mind is gradual development. Life after life, not within one lifetime. It is impossible. He has mentioned, how he had to struggle, work life after life to eradicate all the bad things, to cultivate all the good things, and to develop his mind to understand things properly, to remove all the dirty things from the mind, evil forces from the mind. Then, when ignorance, hatred, and illusions or imaginations are no more in that mind, brightness appears. Take for instance, when you enter into this room, if there's no light, if the room is completely dark, we know there are many things, tables and mic and this and that, but we cannot understand because there is no brightness. Therefore we have to go on touching one by one. Oh, this must be a table. And we touch this one, oh, this is a mic. Maybe something else, but we guess. And this is the nature of our recognition that we use with ignorance. Always we get wrong identification because of that ignorance. When that ignorance is no more in that mind, brightness is there, just like this light. When brightness is there, it is not necessary to go on searching. We can see things properly. We can recognize people because of this brightness. So when the ignorance and hatred and craving or selfishness are no more in the mind, that purity and brightness in the mind gives wisdom, understanding, enlightenment. That is how he gained his enlightenment or this Buddha consciousness without any support from anywhere, through his own effort, by realizing. So, there are three items immediately after gaining his enlightenment the Buddha has explained. He said, now I got 5 kinds of wisdom. Formerly I never experienced in my life. In Dhammacakkha Sutra, the first sermon, he says, Chakkhum udapadi, Jnanam udapadi, Panya udapadi, Vijja udapadi, Aloko udapadi. These 5 kind of wisdom appear in my mind. Then he came to know that he is enlightened. Chakkhum udapadi, Chakkhum means eyes. I can see everything here in this universe through proper perspective, not as they appear, but as they are, by using his penetrative knowledge. But when we look at things, we use very limited knowledge. We cannot understand things. Jnanam udapadi. Now I got jnana, knowledge, understanding. I can understand why we are here in this world. I can understand what will happen to us and why things come into existence, why they decay, why changes take place, and why they disappear. And after this disappearance, what will happen? Earlier we create our own imagination. This is called 3 characteristics in the Buddha's teaching. Anitya, Dukkha, Anatta. Characteristic of everything that which exists in any part of the universe, subject to these 3. Impermanency, conflicts or unsatisfactoriness, unsubstantiality. That means when we analyze, in the end there is nothing for us to take a substance that which remain as permanent entity. Our own imagination, our own craving creates such belief and concept to console our craving. That's all. That is why jnanam udapadi, knowledge. Panya udapadi, prajna is higher than knowledge. Knowledge is understanding. Prajna means when that person used that penetrative knowledge through the existing thing to analyze. Analytical interpretations of existing thing. It is called prajna. But we don't analyze. Aloko udapadi, brightness. Brightness appear in my mind because no ignorance, no darkness. This is the nature of Buddha consciousness. Well, my dear friend, there are so many things to discuss. I think I have taken, our chairman also keeping quiet. May I conclude? Another 5 minutes. Still I got time. That means not yet appear. The three special kind of knowledge that he gained after this Buddha consciousness, called Dibbya Chakku Jnana, Pubbye Nivasanusati Jnana, Asravakshaya Jnana. Asravakshaya. Asrava means all the sediments, ingredients, impurities, that which pollutes our mind. It's called asrava. All of us have this. Worries and miseries and misunderstanding and jealousy and anger and enmity and craze we maintain in our mind because of those mental impurities. They are known as asrava. And these asravas are completely eradicated, washed away, no more in his mind. In fact, he has no human emotion, because human emotion is based on certain kind of craving. If there is no craving, laughing and crying, let us take these two things. The Buddha never laughed. And he never cried. He cannot do that, because no human emotion. To express his feeling, what he does, he shows his smiling face, but never laugh. Then the disciples ask, why did you show your smiling face only today? Then he said, do you know? Then explain. Only for that purpose. That means no more impurities in his mind, completely free. Then, Pubbye Nivasanusati Jnana. He has told us how he had to work life after life to gain this enlightenment. By practicing all the perfections of paramitas, Dhanam, Silam, Nekkhamma, Panya, Virya, Kshanti, Satya, Aditthana, Metta, Upeksha. 10 kind of perfection, how he had to practice life after life. He explained. He also gained the knowledge to understand where all these living beings come from, which part of the universe. And he also developed the knowledge to understand what happened to all those living beings who have departed from this world, where they are. Dibbya Chakku Jnana. In English we introduce this as divine eyes. Divine eyes means simply by using our human mind, when we cannot see things properly, the one day when we get some sort of knowledge to understand, see things properly, for that we use the word divine eyes. So according to Lobsang Rampa is the third eye. Extraordinary eye here, it is an imagination, there is no such eye actually. It's called the development of psychic power. This is a crude form. He has drawn an extra I here. And the real meaning is extraordinary development of that psychic power. All are based on mental energies, development of the mind. So these are the some of those qualities amongst thousands. When you read certain books, you can see thousands of these kind of qualities. When we accumulated all these things, we can say great ocean is nothing but drop of water. Buddhahood is nothing but accumulations of all these great qualities, virtues, knowledge and wisdom. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
As a follow-up to that question, I'm a little intrigued and also very keen to find out that if, in order to attain this high level of clean consciousness, one has to lose one's control of one's senses, the sense of hearing, the sense of sight, the sense of taste, the sense of feeling, because if senses are the cause of most ills of human beings, because they are materialistic, that means a person who has no senses whatsoever, ever, can reach that highest level without ever having been taught what it is, if he was born like that.
What is the last part?
Pardon?
How did you conclude?
I said, if a person were born without senses, well, I've seen people who are deaf, people who are dumb, people who have no eyes. If one were to be born without all physical senses, it means that he will see God or the Almighty because he has not been filthied or dirtied by education and what we are taught and so on. I find it hard to compromise. Can you explain?
This is a very interesting question to us. Actually, we can give the direct answer. When a person is being born to this world, assume he is completely blind, or deaf, or crippled, or mad. And what is the fate of this time? And what is the nature of his mind? So he cannot pollute the mind by taking external objects. All the five senses are cut off. In my talk, I mentioned we have storehouse of consciousness. All our mental activities, what we have accumulated during so many previous births, all are recorded, functioning there in the subconscious. Again, regarding the controlling the senses for our meditation, if we try to stop all the objects that we entertain our mind through the senses, that is not a practical meditation. When you refer to the Buddha, it is mentioned that he has given ditte ditte mattan sute sute mattan evante vahya sikkhitam. Here, he did not say that you must stop. You must look at properly. Don't stop it. You must hear properly. Don't stop it. And look at mindfully. Hear mindfully. After listening, having seen, if that object can disturb the mind, don't bring that object into your mind and occupy it. Drop it there. And this is the only way to maintain purity in the mind to the external object. So the controlling the senses does not mean we must stop on the object. Again, let us come back to the mental attitudes. Now, as Buddhists, we believe whether we have accumulated good and bad karma or not, rebirth definitely takes place. Hindus and Buddhists and so many others also believe. Since this time has not accumulated any good karma or bad karma, then how can rebirth take place? Because he has not collected enough materials or ingredients to condition another man. Answer is, the previous ingredients that he has accumulated as karmic forces are still remaining there. If the present karmic energies, activities are not available at that moment, one of those previous karma come forward and condition the existence again. So the mind cannot become free of mental activities just because the senses are completely out of order. Organ is one thing, consciousness is another. Eye consciousness is working, not the eye organ. Ear consciousness is working, but not the ear. When you are blind, then consciousness are dealing. Then we develop more craving, more greed, more anxiety, because we cannot indulge, we cannot satisfy by gaining, getting objects through these senses.
There are these two extremes, O monks, that should be avoided by the person who is seeking enlightenment. The first is the indulgence in sensual pleasure. This is inferior, indecent, insignificant, dishonorable, and profitless. The other extreme is indulgence in the practice of severe austerity. This is painful, inferior, and profitless. By abandoning these two extremes, the Tathagata, the Buddha, realized the middle path, which promotes vision and knowledge. Moreover, this leads to nirvana, peace of mind, deep insight, and complete awakening. What is this middle path, O monk, realized by the Tathagata? It is exactly this noble eightfold path, namely, right views, right thoughts, right speech, right action, right application, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. The noble truth of suffering is this: birth itself is suffering, old age is suffering, sickness is suffering, death is suffering, having to do with unpleasant ones is suffering, separation from the loved ones is suffering. In short, the five aggregates of existence connected with attachment are suffering. Idam kopan vikkhave dukkha samudayam ariya satyam yayam tanha kono bhavika nandiyam The noble truth of the cause of suffering is this. It is the craving, tanha, which gives rise to very existence. It is the craving that combines with enjoyment and attachment, seeks delight in this and that. This craving is twofold. The craving for sensual pleasure, the craving to become, the craving not to become. Idam kopan vikkhave dukkha nirodham ariya satyam yo sattva idam khopan vikkhave dukkha nirodhagami patipada ariya satyam ayameva ariyo attanniko maggo sayyatidam sammadhitti samma sankappo samma vaca samma kammanto samma ajivo samma vayamo samma sati samma yathochako me vikkhave imitavidvare satte evam iparvattham dvadasakaram bhutam jnanalakhanam suripuddham vikkhave tadev kelo